I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
And then they have cans of soup. Soup. And they throw the cans of soup. That's better than a brick because you can't throw a brick, it's too heavy. But a can of soup, you can really put some power into that, right? And then when they get caught, they say, no, this is soup from my family. They're so innocent. This is soup from my family. It's incredible. And you have people coming over with bags of soup, big bags of soup, and they lay it on the ground, and the anarchists take it and they start throwing it at our cops, at our police. And if it hits you, that's worse than a brick because it's got force. It's a perfect size. It's like made perfect. And when they get caught, they say, no, this is just soup from my family. My family. My family. And when they get caught, they say, no, this is just soup from my family. And then the media says, this is just soup. These people are very, very innocent. They're innocent people. $7 million for reef fish management. $25 million to combat Asian carp. $2.5 million to count the number of amberjack fish in the Gulf of Mexico.
We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by the you know the thing. By the you know the thing.
And he's like this, and we will, I need water, help me, I need water, help. And this is on live television.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you gotta be honest. I'm gonna be honest with you. Get your words straight, Jack. Get your words straight, Jack. Get your words straight, Jack. Get your words straight, Jack.
I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ. $7 million for reef fish management. $25 million to combat Asian carp. $2.5 million to count the number of amberjack fish in the Gulf of Mexico. $25 billion to combat Asian carp. $25 billion to combat Asian carp.
Bottom line, the American dream, the great American dream versus being a socialist hellhole.
Where it should have stopped is at the deal standpoint when they thought about it.
In case you don't know, and you haven't seen the latest polls, the American people hold the President of the United States in contempt. They hold this institution in contempt. They hold the Republican Party in contempt. They hold the Democratic Party in contempt. They think that maybe, given all of the crises facing this country, it's about time that there was some bold leadership here and that this institution made some hard choices.
Is this thing on? Holy shit. Hey everybody, welcome. Once again, this is the program. This is what we do here. I am a programmatic programmer. I'm actually not. I can do none of those things. Hello, Unknown Stoyle. Hello, Kathleen M. Hello, Mr. Freak Glitcher. Hello, Esports Nation. And hello, Bill. Welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Anyway, so hopefully everyone's having a good morning. If you're not having a good morning, then that's unfortunate. But if you are, then that's also pretty fortunate. I've got this like little lock of hair that keeps flopping into my face. Hate when that happens. Isn't that just the worst? So I've got a decent lineup today. I've got a couple things I want to talk about today. Only a couple, right? I totally don't have 15 tabs open right now, right? I've only got like 2, maybe 3 tabs open. Totally do not have like 38 tabs open on my screen. For whatever reason, by the way, remember when my CPU like kept heating up a lot? I have not had that problem in a couple weeks. So I'm going to assume that that was a virus and that the CIA was hacking my computer, and then they found out that I am a criminal mastermind, and then they stopped hacking my computer because they're afraid of me. That's what I'm going to assume happened. But I totally have 58 tabs open, and we're gonna do our best to get through them. Hello, Ronnie M. Welcome to the chat room. There's your little, there you go. Boom, like, you know, Cut Man and Mega Man. I'm gonna cut you. Right, there you go. See? Boom. Anyway, yeah. All right. So, let's get started here with I don't know. This is the big news of the day. So, let's just get this out of the way first. Donald Trump has signed the COVID relief package. And Josh Hawley says in the Senate, now the House is going to vote, I believe today, if today is Monday, I believe the House is going to vote on a $2,000 bill, or $2,000 stimulus check bill. And the Senate is saying that they will only do a $2,000 bill if it includes terminating Section 230. And so Josh Hawley, this was always the thing. Remember when everyone was like, all the dumb Jimbo Dumbo lefties were like, Donald Trump and Josh Hawley are to the left of Nancy Pelosi, right? This is how they're going to do it. They're going to try to say, oh, $2,000, you want $2,000? Well, also terminate Section 230 if you want the $2,000. This is called extortion, for those of you that don't know. For those of you that also don't know what Section 230 is, Section 230 is part of I think a 1990s Telecommunications Act of some kind that says that a company, let's say, for example, Twitter, is not legally responsible for what their users post on their platform when it comes to things like hate speech, or when it comes to things like, you know, threatening to kill someone, which is a crime, right? When it comes to those things, it basically, Section 230 says, you are not a platform, you are not an editor, you are not a publisher, you are a platform. So anyone is able to say whatever they want on your platform, right? And you are not criminally liable for what they say. That's what Section 230 postulates. Now, the reason why Donald Trump wants to get rid of Section 230 so much is because he feels that tech companies are abusing the right of, whatever, to allow anything. He thinks that basically, I just kind of gave you word salad there. He thinks that basically the little check marks on his tweets are a violation of Section 230, and he kind of has an argument there. It kind of is a violation of Section 230. Let's look at this Donald Trump tweet, which is amazing. Twitter is good. This was a couple days ago. Twitter is going wild with their flags, trying hard to suppress even the truth. Just shows how dangerous they are. Purposefully stifling free speech. Very dangerous for our country. Does Congress know that this is how communism starts? Cancel culture at its worst. End Section 230. Right? If Section 230 ends, then there will be no Twitter. There will be no Facebook. There will be no Google. My channel will be banned. Everyone's channels will be banned. The only channels that won't be banned are mainstream news outlets. Section 230 is what gives these outlets like Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook even a reason to host people like myself, those that are against government overreach and against corporate overreach more particularly. So again, is Twitter reaching over? Are they violating Section 230 by having these like little, there's not one on this one, but the little, exclamation points? Technically, I can see the argument for that. If Twitter were really a neutral platform, it would not be publishing or promoting advertisements, and it would not be adding amendments to anything. So I get the argument, right? But the argument of Donald Trump is it's twofold. He can utilize this to make himself look like the victim, and, as Josh Hawley is working with him to do, try to leverage the $2,000 coronavirus relief payments on getting personal revenge on big tech companies, which would result in, remember when everyone thought that the world was going to break when net neutrality was destroyed? Well, it did in a little bit. They laid the groundwork. If Section 230 is fully repealed, I do think the internet, as we in America know it, is going to radically change forever. Because keep in mind, Section 230 is one of the main rules and laws that corporations like Google and YouTube, right, and Facebook and Twitter based all of their creation on. This law has been on the books since before Twitter, Google, YouTube, Facebook, etc. So if this law is repealed, it's going to completely change the playing field of the internet, not for the best. So you need to be aware of that. That needs to be absolutely just in the forefront of your mind. Section 230, maybe it needs to be updated. I can agree with it being updated, but fully repealed without being replaced by something that gets rid of the problems, that's going to be a disaster, right? And tying the $2,000 COVID relief payments to that is also going to be a disaster. And that is nothing short of extortion. So I just wanted to be clearly on the record with that. Everyone's saying Josh Hawley is a real true leftist. Oops. Oops. But again, only a specific demographic would think that a Republican is to the left of a Democrat.
Only the really, I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ.
Unbelievable. Hello, the lead striker. Who wants to bet the Nashville suicide bomber is a MAGA 5G conspiracy theorist? I haven't been looking into that much. Maybe I should. Maybe I should. I don't know. I saw that they identified the guy. Could you provide an update for me? Hello, Bodan. You started too soon. I started at the same time I always start. Come on, man. Well, maybe like 2 or 3 minutes early, but come on, man. Show up at 9:55. 9:55. Check your watch. You see me? This is you right now, Bodan. You, right? You have no watch on? Get a watch on because you're going to need to check the time. Yes. That's, yes. So, in other news, let's talk about these $2,000 relief checks. So, we got some pretty cool individuals going on CNN and talking very openly and very brazenly about how pathetic the President of the United States is, the failed presidential candidate, Donald Trump. And so here's Jamal Bowman. And I don't remember if Corey speaks in this clip, but I've got another clip that I'm going to play in a separate segment where they both speak, so I'm just throwing that out there. But here's Jamal Bowman basically tearing up the President of the United States, making a fool of him, and doing so in a way that I think is just pretty cool. And also coming out in favor of the $2,000 monthly, not one time, monthly stimulus package. So let's watch.
So the House passed the HEROES Act several months ago, and we were talking about $1,200 checks, I believe, at that time. We need to be at $2,000 per month to meet the needs of the American people, bottom line. We need to continue the $600 per week unemployment insurance. The president is just posturing. He recently suffered a malignant narcissist harm by losing the election. He continues to go to court to try to overturn the results. He continues to lose. And now he's posturing to make himself to bring himself back as the hero of the American people, asking for $2,000. Mnuchin negotiated on the president's behalf for this $600. So initially the president was fine with that, and now he's trying to switch it up.
So again, Jamal Bowman basically tearing apart the president. I love it. Now, again, like I said, this whole thing is a scam, right, to get Section 230 repealed. Check out Josh Hawley's tweet today. Check out Trump's tweet a couple days ago. It's all a scam to get Section 230 repealed. This is, again, Trump thinking he's the main character, and he's going to daggle the carrot and then stab you in the fucking eye sockets with the fucking stick. That's what this is, right? And Jamal is talking about this openly and brazenly, mocking the president, the failed presidential candidate, for losing, which is beautiful, and just saying it how it is. And again, advocating for $2,000, not one time, but monthly stimulus checks. Again, that's great. And this guy's going into Congress this week. When does the new thing get sworn in? On Sunday, I think. Isn't it Sunday? Is when the new Congress comes in. Anyway, I think, again, just great stuff from what will soon to be, in less than a week, a sitting member of Congress. And again, $2,000 monthly payments, that is going to be a requirement. A requirement. If this country wants to have any hope of salvaging the losses, $2,000 monthly cash payments are going to be a requirement. And for all persons, not just citizens, but all persons in the United States of America. And so definitely really happy to hear that. And it gets better, let me just tell you. So here we have Frank Lopez in the chat. I'm going to read this live. Capitalism is only a threat for mostly people who don't have any children. These M asterisk 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 don't give a damn about your kids. They only give a damn about themselves. Every time she posts a video or a live stream, you see a picture with a bunch of destruction and chaos. That's what she wants. Everything is chaotic or a game. Live stream to her. Is he talking about me? Capitalism is only a threat for mostly people who don't have children. Capitalism is more of a threat to people that have children. Later in today's episode, and I'll tease you this, later in today's episode, we're actually going to talk about how capitalism is preventing kids from being able to eat. So if you want to say capitalism is a problem only for people without children, wake up. You are dumb as a motherfucking sack of shit. Like literally, right? And I'm not joking. This is not like, oh, look at me, I'm a funny streamer. If you were to go into any sort of farm, right, and literally just get like a shovel and shovel shit into a paper bag, right, and then have like a beauty contest. Contestant 1, you, Frank Lopez. Contestant 2, the bag of shit. I can tell you right now that the winner of this contest would not be you, Frank Lopez. It would be the bag of shit, because you are dumber than the bag of shit, because you are a fucking sheep. A MAGA drone. I love it. I love it. These people think they're smart. Anyway, let's move on. Again, in Jamal Bowman and Cori Bush's recent CNN appearance, they did not commit to voting for Nancy Pelosi as Speaker of the House, and they did so in an incredibly brave way, in a way that I just love, and in a way that absolutely stunned whoever this bitch in the middle is. I forget. Like, she just didn't understand. She just couldn't fathom what was happening. Let's watch.
Quick, before I let you both go, something looking ahead at that you're both going to have to vote on, which is the Speaker of the House, Congresswoman-elect Bush. Will you vote for Nancy Pelosi as Speaker?
What I'm going to do is make sure that the voices of the people of St. Louis are heard and that we have what we need. And so you'll find out then.
That's not a yes.
I'm working with my community. I'm working with my community.
Okay. And Congressman-elect Bowman, will you vote for Nancy Pelosi as Speaker?
So you will find out when my vote is tallied, and again, organizing with our community to figure out what's best.
I'm just curious, what does that mean when you said organize?
So I just want to say, this person is baffled, right? She is confused. Some would even say she's bewildered. She has no idea what's happening, right? She can't figure it out. Her brain is stuck in the mud, right? And so she's going to try to get them to explain it, but it gets better.
I'm just curious, what does that mean? When you said organizing with our community, I mean, what do you want to hear from them real quick in order to make your decision on whether Nancy Pelosi should be the speaker?
So for me, go ahead, Corey.
Jamal.
This is the best part. This is like literal sitcom stuff. Like, I'm sorry. I should like clip this for a sound drop because it's so good. All right, just watch.
So for me, go ahead, Corey.
Jamal.
No, for me, go ahead.
Sorry, we're almost out of time, actually. So just.
I love that. Oh, we're almost out of time. You spent 5 minutes trying to out-respect one another, or 5 seconds, rather. We're almost out of time. Like, what does that even mean, we're almost out of time? Like, what? You've only got 10 seconds and you ask, like, a very lengthy question? It's really funny. It's just really funny. She had that opportunity to think about that. Should I let these people actually speak? Should I let them speak? And then as they were trying to speak, she was like, I probably shouldn't let them speak because I'm not, like, the donors behind my network and my boss is probably not going to be happy if I let them speak. So actually, we're out of time.
Give me a 10-second answer.
We got to bring HR 40 to the floor for a vote. We need reparations for the African-American community. We need a federal jobs guarantee. We need Medicare for all. Thank you.
Again, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Foregrounding, reparations, I think, is a good idea. Of course, I fully support reparations. And then also a federal jobs guarantee in an unemployment crisis. Boom. Medicare for all in a health crisis. Boom. Right? Saying this on live television on a major network, in my opinion, is just a tremendous thing. Absolutely a tremendous thing. Right? And this is the thing, is they are able to get their message across, right? They're able to do so fluently. They're able to do so in a very personable fashion. Like, again, the part where they're trying to be respectful to one another and they, like, turn into, like, a sitcom moment. You can't not love that shit. You just can't not love that shit, right? And then, again, foregrounding extremely important issues, right? It's just great. It's just great. Like, it's just great. This is called messaging. This is called leadership. This is the good stuff. I love it. And again, perfect answers. I'm organizing with my community. I'll let you know, right? Like, will they probably vote for Nancy Pelosi? Sure, right? But what matters is the messaging. What matters is you were on an interview, asked about the speakership, and you managed to turn that question into promoting reparations, promoting a federal jobs guarantee, and promoting Medicare for all, and being personable while you do so. And again, that's the kind of ability to kind of speak, the ability to take control of especially mainstream media narratives that I find very impressive. So again, huge fan of both of these individuals, and I'm excited to follow them in Congress for sure. And obviously, I would be remiss if I did not mention that Jamal Bowman and Cori Bush are neoliberal corporate shills. They're sellouts, as we all know. So throwing that out there. Anyway, there you go. Boom. Hello, Jeff Landry. How's it going? Bush and Bowman got in each other's way by being so respectful of each other instead of getting in each other's way by infighting. Exactly. Is Frank Lopez gonna respond, by the way, or is that the end of that? Which is unfortunate, because I was looking forward to that. I was actually like, damn, I'm gonna get in there. I'm gonna own somebody. They're gonna get owned. And then they just left. Unbelievable. I hate when that happens.
Only the really, I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ.
Not sending their best. Anyway, hopefully everyone's enjoying today's program. Someone is calling my phone. I don't even know where my phone is. I will not be answering that call. Anyway, sorry if I seem a little scatterbrained this morning. That's just, that's typically what happens. I typically get scatterbrained. My brain scatters on a daily basis. And usually, basically, my daily experience is waking up, and it's like playing billiards, right? You just break the fucking thing, and then the balls go all over the place. Like, they fucking pop up and land on the floor, and then, like, break your fucking pinky toe, right? Like, and then the rest of my day is scattering and finding these fucking balls, these billiards, and then just putting them back into the triangle. That's my day, and hopefully I can accomplish that before I'm done with the day. And sometimes I sometimes I miss one of the balls. You know, there's a lot going on there, but there you go. All right. Okay. Anyway, of course, you can listen to this podcast on Anchor and all that happy horse shit. Let's talk about Joe Biden. So Joe Biden, who, I don't even know if I need to describe Joe Biden. So Joe Biden says he is unlikely to issue executive order canceling $50,000 in student loan debt. And then you got this face. Imagine, like, we're going to have to look at this motherfucker for the rest of, like, you know, I don't know, like, for a while. We're going to have to look at this guy's fucking face for a while, and I'm not looking forward to that. But anyway, President-elect Joe Biden admitted that it's unlikely he will use an executive order to eliminate upwards of $50,000 in student loan debt. Now, I want to be very explicit here, right? The language, you gotta pay attention to the language when you're looking at these politicians, right? The language here. So Joe Biden says, it's arguable. It's not arguable. There is no argument. That's like saying, okay, you see what's in this bottle of water? Well, this bottle of water is arguably going to hydrate your body. It's arguably going to provide necessary nutrients to your body, or at least, you know, the vehicles for those nutrients. This bottle of water, it's arguably compromised of hydrogen atoms and oxygen atoms. This bottle of water, it's arguably, you know, you get my point. You get my point. It's not arguable. You can read the letter of the law. You can read the text of the law. And there is a yes or no binary answer to this. It is not arguable that the President of the United States could eliminate such debt. It is factually true that the President of the United States is legally able to exercise that power. But let's read. It's arguable that the President may have the executive power to forgive up to $50,000 in student debt, Biden told a group of newspaper columnists on Wednesday. Well, I think that is pretty questionable. I'm unsure of that. I'd be unlikely to... Again, it's not questionable. He is unsure of that because he's a dullard. Joe Biden, he is a dullard. That's why he is unsure of whether or not that is the case. I'd be unlikely to do that. That's the only true thing. He is unlikely to give a flying fuck all about any American citizen, let alone ones with student loan debt. I've spent most of my career arguing against the imperial presidency, Biden continued. You supported the war in Iraq. You were one of the biggest and most vociferous advocates for the war in Iraq, Joe Biden. I've spent most of my career arguing against the imperial presidency. When you and Barack Obama took office, you did not even think about prosecuting George W. Bush for war crimes. You did not even think about holding the people in that presidential cabinet and that administration accountable for the crimes against humanity they committed. And this guy is going to say he has spent most of his career arguing against the imperial presidency? What? Dumb bullshit. Dumb bullshit. And as Joe Biden would say himself,
get your words straight, Jack.
I love that clip. I literally, this guy is up there defending imperial presidential actions, and then he's saying he has spent, that's like saying I have spent most of my career, really worried about the gravel that is utilized in our streets in this country. It's like, maybe I've thought about that once in my life ever. But to say that I've spent most of my career worried about such a thing. It's bizarre. It's ludicrous. It's wrong. We got 3 equal branches of government. I'm confident that there are a number of areas that are of such consequence that they go beyond the partisan boundaries. What does that mean? I covered yesterday that Joe Biden said he is going to try to work with Republicans. What that means is he is going to compromise on everything. I saw Joe Biden say that Republicans are not the problem, which they are. And Joe Biden, this is just ridiculous. I don't know, it's ridiculous. I'm sorry, this is just some dumbass bullshit, but let's read the rest of this. In September, New York Senator Chuck Schumer and Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren proposed that if elected, Biden should bypass Congress and utilize his authority under the Higher Education Act to forgive up to $50,000 in student loan debt from each borrower. Biden's remarks appear to suggest that he believes doing so would be an abuse of power. An abuse of power? To forgive people's student loan debt? Which is immoral in the first place. Which is predatory in the second place. To forgive that debt? Using words like forgive, in my opinion, are, I think, misframing this. To eliminate that debt? That's an abuse of power? Again, this is coming from the guy who supported the war in Iraq and wanted to turn the page after being elected in 2008 against the imperial presidency, my asshole. While on the campaign trail, Biden said he would be in support of wiping $10,000 in student loan debt as a part of a coronavirus stimulus package. Read, not in an executive order, which would mean it would not take place on day one, and it could take place weeks, maybe months, if ever, after him being sworn in. This would imply that the House and Senate could reach an agreement on such a divisive issue, especially after it took them several months to negotiate the terms of the current $900 billion stimulus deal. So he thinks the House and Senate are going to work on $10,000. That is a compromise already. He doesn't want the House and the Senate to work on 50. He wants the House and the Senate to work on 10. When he himself alone, without the House and the Senate, could do 50. Think about that. This is your progressive hero? Despite taking a stringent stance on how he would prefer to see the student loan debt crisis handled, Biden at least acknowledged that it is a problem crushing the lives of young people. You know what else is a problem? Shitting on the sidewalk. You know what I'm going to continue doing every single day of my life? I'm going to go outside every single day and I'm going to shit all over the sidewalk. I'm going to shit on this. I'm sorry. Like I don't understand this idea that oh, this is a problem, so I'm going to do nothing. What? Like I don't, it's like a drug addict trying to tell themselves oh yeah, I've got an addiction. Tomorrow, this is my last dose. Tomorrow, I'm going to quit. Tomorrow, I'm going to quit. Cigarettes, heroin, sugar. Tomorrow, I'm going to quit, they say. What the fuck is this? I seriously, you know what? You know what? I've got a very wonderful clip lined up here. This is Joe Biden.
Yeah, but you're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but you're now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
Lion, dog-faced pony soldier. That is Joe Biden. This guy, honestly, he's not much better than Donald Trump. Really, the only calculus for why I like Joe Biden more than Donald Trump is that Joe Biden would stop the bleeding. He's not going to stitch up the wound, but he's going to stop the bleeding a little bit. This country is a failed state. It is an empire in collapse. The shit's gone. Joe Biden is proof of that. If this country is pudding, Joe Biden is the proof. There you go. Boom. Wasn't that profound? Holy shit. God damn, I should write a fucking book or something. Holy fuck. Of profound intellect, I present to you my thesis. Hopefully everyone's having a good day today. I'm having a pretty decent day. Today is Monday, of course. I hate Mondays. I've been thinking, and I'm just going to throw this out there. I've been thinking of, like I said, doing a live caller system. If you want to come on and sing my praises, or if you have something you want to tell me or ask a question about, I'm considering maybe doing that this week. So we'll see how that goes. If anyone's interested, though, you know, I'm probably going to be doing this through Discord, and not a phone number thing, because let's be honest, that shit is garbage, right? Like, it's garbage. Like, I'm going to be honest here. Like, it's garbage. Have you ever tried to call into one of these progressive shows with the phone number thing? They usually use, like, Blog Talk Radio, right? Like, the quality is trash, right? Sometimes the microphones are, like, muted in that system. It's bizarre. Like, I tried calling into the Majority Report once, and it's like they expect you to listen on the phone, right? Because, like, oh, if you're late, you know, you won't be able to hear them call your area code out, right? So you got to listen on the phone. Half their mics are muted, right? The sound quality is ass fuck, right? I'm not going to do that shit. So if we are doing live calls in the system, I'm going to be doing so on Discord, like a normal person, like someone under the age of 70 would do. And so I'm just throwing that out there. Expect that kind of thing to occur at some point this week. So I'm just throwing that out there. So this is some other stuff that I saw. This is no good. So obviously, I am in favor of the destruction and the eradication of statues in this country commemorating the Confederacy that are glorifying the KKK. I am in favor of destroying those statues. But my favorability for destroying those statues is not because they are statues. Statues are only as good as what they represent. And so there's a lot of right-wingers out there that think, oh, you're destroying our statues of KKK Grand Wizards? Well, we're going to destroy your statues too. First of all, that's admitting that the Confederacy and the KKK are their responsibility and their team, which is like, you know, it's a little weird. Second of all, it's missing the point. Third of all, it's just ridiculous. Like, okay, so you're going to go after statues of, well, let me just, like, this is the story. So a Breonna Taylor bust that was put up in, I believe, Oakland, California, was destroyed. It was vandalized by presumably a racist motherfucker because they got triggered at, you know, maybe Robert E. Lee being removed from the Capitol triggered them. Who knows? But again, like, and for you to actually take a destructive weapon to this statue in this manner, you have to have some serious brainworms. Like, there has to be some sort of, like, it's psychopathy maybe, like you're Michael Myers in Training. There has to be some significant psychological issue in your brain. And we need to figure that out. We need to study you. We need to figure that out. And we need to find a way to prevent that strain of psychological failure to prop up or get cropped up in any other human being. Seriously, it's disgusting. It's bizarre. And again, only a dumbass or a dullard would do something of this nature. So a sculpted bust of Breonna Taylor in downtown Oakland lay in pieces Saturday, apparently vandalized just 2 weeks after it was first installed. The bust's sculptor, Leo Carson, told KQED that the sculpture was created to support Black lives. This vandalism is an act of racist aggression, and it shows why why sculptures and art matters. He said, I made this sculpture to support the Black Lives Matter movement, and while I'm overcome with rage and sadness at their cowardly act, their vandalism will make her even more potent. It is not immediately clear who or how or why the bust was broken. The Oakland Police Department told KQED that they are aware of the incident regarding the vandalism. They're aware? What? A police report has been filed and the incident is under... They're aware of the incident. What? Like... That's like, okay, you raise your hand in math class, right? And you ask the teacher, hey, what's 7 plus 7? And the teacher responds with, well, I'm aware that 7 and 7 equate to a number that is the sum of those two numbers. I am aware that 7 and 7 are two numbers that you could add to create another number. I'm aware. That's a phenomenon that I've experienced. A basic addition equation. I'm aware of that. Like, what? I just look. Why is this even in the piece? Seriously. Like, I don't know. Like, it's just they're aware of the incident. Okay, congratulations. But I want to read this part too, because I want to remind everyone just how fucked up the result of this case was, in case you forgot, which I don't know how you could, but this is extremely important. In September, grand jurors brought only one indictment against an officer for the reckless use of a gun. Brett Hankison, who has since been dismissed from the force, not, sent to prison, right, for murder. He just lost his job, was charged with 3 counts of wanton endangerment for firing into Taylor's neighbor's apartment. The 2 officers whose bullets hit Taylor were not charged. Again, they were charged for missing. I want you to understand. The officer who was charged for wanton endangerment was charged for failing to kill Breonna Taylor. He attempted to murder Breonna Taylor and failed, missed a shot. That is what got him the charge. The other officers, the ones that actually hit the target, they say, the target, they're walking off scot-free. In America, you are supposed to kill the black woman. And if you fail to kill the black woman, then and only then will you be held criminally liable. So again, this system is absolutely broken. The people who uphold and defend the police in this country are broken on the inside and the outside. And again, anyone that's going to do this kind of thing obviously needs to be in prison. Just because this is like serial killer shit. Like, it really is. Like, you might say, oh, it's just breaking a statue, right? Breaking a statue, this particular statue, in this climate, during this context, that's something I can only imagine someone like Michael Myers doing. Like, again, you need to have some sort of psychological issue in order for you to even contemplate such an action, let alone actually go through with it. Absolutely sickening. But, what are you going to do? A big statue of a snowflake would be cool. I would love a big snowflake. Presumably you could put that outside of the Trump Tower in New York, or like maybe, outside of Mar-a-Lago in Florida, right? Just put a giant snowflake up there. I'm down with that. Yeah, so I'm sorry if I'm a little scatterbrained this morning. Morning, thanks for the music channel. No problem. Billiard, no problem. Hopefully you enjoy that. But yeah, so I want to say that today's episode is titled Capitalism is Inside Your Body and It's Not Doing Good Things. That is today's episode title. And I've got 3 news stories and study overviews, that are going to prove my thesis on this one. But again, today's episode is called Capitalism is Inside Your Body and It's Not Doing Good Things. When I look over there, I'm reading it because, I can't remember basic things. And, the first exhibit is food banks sound alarm on child hunger as the pandemic rages on. Can't say certain words here. On a recent Saturday, this is in Weymouth, Massachusetts, and this is a news article from NBC News, December 27th at 6 a.m., so yesterday. On a recent Saturday, Shanna Savage pulled her car into the line of vehicles snaking their way through the Old South Union Church parking lot. Savage gave birth to her second child this summer. With her husband out of work, they've been struggling to feed their 2 little boys, ages 6 months and 18 months, let alone feed themselves. Things are really, really tough right now, Savage said as volunteers from the Weymouth Food Pantry loaded a couple boxes of food into her trunk. We've been hungry a lot. Without this food bank, we'd probably not eat some nights. Now, I want to give you a little story. When I was young, when I was going through the housing crisis in this country, there were moments where my mother decided to pay the rent instead of paying for food. I used to go 3-4 days without eating anything. Maybe the only thing I'd be able to have was like a glass of milk if I'm lucky. I used to go, I think my record is probably like something around 7 days without eating during this period. And I was like 13, 14, and 15 around this time. Where again, every now and then, my mom would have to make a choice. Do we pay rent or do we buy food? And another thing, and I'm going to get into this as well after this segment. I'm going to do multiple segments about this. Another thing is that the food that my mother would buy and the food that my mother would acquire for me was typically unhealthy. It was typically bread, like white bread, for example, unhealthy stuff. Milk as well, which is, it's healthier than nothing, of course. But it's not necessary. If you're only drinking milk and eating white bread, you're not going to be relatively healthy. So I want that to be understood. Like, these food banks are not going to be stocked with healthy produce. They're not going to be stocked with the best foods in the world. Typically, they're stocked with whatever the excess is, right? And I want you to understand that. So not only are these kids having life-altering anxiety, like, again, I'm going to remember having food insecurity as a kid and as a teenager for the rest of my life. I will be 95 years old, and I will be talking on a podcast about how I couldn't eat when I was 15, right? So again, not only is this a life-changing anxiety, a traumatic event, but it also, especially for 18-month-old and 6-month-old children, is going to change the way that their brain develops. Being deprived of specific nutrients is going to, slow their rate of cognitive functioning. It's going to make their body less apt for dealing with certain foods. It's going to have them have much more allergic reactions. And I'm not a scientist, right? This is just like very basic reading that I know of, right? My point is there's going to be health problems that stem from not being well fed or well nourished, especially from such a young age, right? And these health problems could theoretically last this kid's entire life. Again, if this kid is going through food insecurity when they're 5, 6, 7, right, and maybe the only thing that they can eat is, they got like a coupon for Dunkin' Donuts. This is something that my mom, she got, like, she used to get coupon books and like, oh, there's a Dunkin' Donuts down the street. We got a coupon for get a dozen donuts for like $5. And it's like, okay, right? So I remember one time I'd go 4 days without eating, and my mom finds a coupon and scrounges up literal change, like coins from the couch cushions, and I walk down the street and get us donuts, and that was our like first meal, right, in a week, right? So like, and this is when I was like 14 years old, and I still have health issues from that. I am addicted to sugar for the rest of my life, right? I make improper like eating decisions every now and then, right? And I have cravings. If I ever see a donut, I crave a donut, right? I am addicted to these foods for the rest of my life because of a situation that occurred when I was a child because of someone else's supervision. So, and I'm not trying to say that, the parents, all parents are evil. I'm just giving you my personal story. This is just my situation. I want you to understand how food insecurity, affects people in the long term. It's not, oh, I can't eat today, and then you wake up tomorrow and it's a new day and a new start. It's, oh, I can't eat today, so 40 years from now, I'm going to be addicted to certain foods because it's the only food I can get a hold of. 40 years from now, I'm going to have certain metabolic health issues because of my inability to eat properly, right? This is the kind of stuff that we need to focus on. So I'm sorry for taking that out there, but I know this is my stuff, right? Things are really, really rough right now. Without this food bank, we'd probably not eat some nights. I already read that. The Savage family is among hundreds of thousands across the country struggling to put enough food on the table during the COVID-19 pandemic. Oops, I said the word. More than 50 million people living in America, including 17 million children, are likely to experience food insecurity by the end of the year. Again, 17 million children. What it should say is 17 million children will be traumatized for the rest of their lives because of something easily preventable. That's what that should read. According to Feeding America, the country's largest anti-hunger organization, that amounts to 1 in 6 Americans and 1 in 4 children. 25-ish% of children will grow up with lifelong trauma, like an increase of nearly 50% over last year. Catherine D'Amato, president and CEO of the Greater Boston Food Bank, said that in her 40 years of working in food banks, the need has never been greater. I've been through plenty of disasters, hurricanes and floods, D'Amato said, but we haven't seen it so pervasive, with every city, every state, and every country involved. I'm thinking they meant county. But they could have meant country. I mean, I don't know if we've got, like, Nicolas Maduro, if you can hear me, please lend me your food, right? Like, I don't know, like, what the situation is there. So I'm assuming they meant county. Before the pandemic, the Greater Boston Food Bank was providing about 550 food pantries with about 1 million pounds of food a week. D'Amato said now deliveries have swelled to 2.5 million pounds of food shipped weekly from its massive and meticulously organized warehouse in South Boston. One of the areas it serves is Norfolk County, where Weymouth is located. The county has a distinction no one else would want: a projected 168% rise in child hunger since 2018, according to Feeding America, the biggest increase in the country. While the pandemic didn't cause the nation's hunger problem, it has made things much worse. You can read the rest of this article yourself. I don't want to spend 15 years just reading an article. But this is a huge crisis in this country. And again, this is a crisis that will instill trauma and fear in people for the rest of their lives, right? Again, it's not a joke. Saying, right, like going as a kid and having your mother tell you, like asking your mom, like, hey, what's for dinner? And your mom tells you, I don't feel like cooking today, right? And that's code for we don't have food, right? That is something, again, it stuck with me. 10 years later, I still distinctly remember this stuff. Again, I will probably remember this stuff for the rest of my life. And I experienced most of my food insecurity and stuff when I was a teenager. Like, again, 13, 14, 15. Was where most of it was held. Now, again, I remember going through, like, bouts when I was a kid. But my mom would lie to me a lot about it. She would say, like, just drink some milk and eat a sandwich or something, right? Instead of having, like, a nutritious meal or whatever. And obviously the only sandwich materials I had was, like, ham, right? And white bread, right? So it's, like, not very nutritious, right? And that's my point, is that, again, the lack of proper nutrition, especially in children, is a huge deal for their growth, their development, both physically, mentally, etc. And again, telling kids that you don't have food to eat, that's traumatic. And 1 in 4 children are going to go through that over the course of this next year. And the chances of that number only increasing is significant, I would say. But Jesus Christ. Cheeto is barking like a motherfucking mad dog downstairs. Imagine trying to get anything of worth invented in an economically libertarian society. Yeah, I don't think this is the problem, is I don't think you can have a right-wing libertarian society, because it's just not a society. It's just like slave camps and fucking like roving bands of fucking death squads. Like, it's like playing Fallout or something, they're a nice society you got. But yeah, I've got some other articles I'm going to talk about on the subject of food. Because, again, food is a very important thing. So, across the pond, you may not know this, actually, I'm American, right? So, across the pond over in England, there have been some stunning developments. Now, imagine, right, Donald Trump gets a virus and gets a disease that is exacerbated by the fact that he eats 30 Big Macs a day. And imagine Donald Trump saying, we should probably fix people having access to and eating 30 Big Macs a day. Now, obviously that would not happen, but something similar happened in the UK. Boris Johnson got corona, and he had severe complications from his corona, and now apparently he's on some health kick. And so the UK, or at least England, I'm not entirely sure if it's the UK broadly or just England, unhealthy snacks to be banned from checkouts at supermarkets in England. I think this is a huge thing. Now, the reason why this is such a positive thing, again, from Boris Johnson, right? Holy mackerel. But the reason why this is so positive is, again, I agree with, I think sugar taxes, honestly, they're kind of silly. I think it's much better to go after the root, which is high fructose corn syrup subsidies, in America at least, than go after a sugar tax, right? And this is one of those situations. They're not banning sugary foods, but they're, preventing, when you're at the checkout line, you're waiting, right? And you're looking at the candy bars and the fucking, Mountain Dews and the fucking Coca-Colas and shit and the fucking little coffee drinks that have 0% caffeine in them and are just all sugar and fucking chocolate, right? You see those things there and you're like, damn, I want one. Right? Here's something in my experience, and I'm not going to, every now and then when I go to the grocery store with specific people, every time that we're checking out, they want to get a $2 20-ounce bottle of soda every time that we check out, right? Every single time. And now, would they have gotten that soda if it wasn't there? Maybe. But every single time, would they? Maybe not. So that's the idea here. So I'm going to read this. Supermarkets in England are to be barred from displaying unhealthy food and drinks at checkouts or using them in buy one, get one free offers as part of a proposed government crackdown on obesity. Now, it's important to note that obesity is a problem, but obesity is, typically, obesity is a symptom of a wider problem. The wider problem being fatty liver and metabolic syndrome. The planned restrictions were praised by health campaigners as a bold first step in Downing Street's promised campaign against obesity. The checkout restrictions will apply to other sales-boosting locations, such as the entrances to stores or at the end of aisles. Similar rules will apply for websites, banning sales links to unhealthy foods on places such as homepages or at checkouts or payment pages. Restaurants will no longer be able to offer free refills of sugary drinks. Bada boom. The restrictions will not come into force until April 2022 and will be subject to a consultation process first. So again, it's going to be a couple years before this stuff is instituted. But this is, in my opinion, again, the perfect way of doing so, right? If someone really wants that soda, okay, you can go get the soda, but you shouldn't have to go to a grocery store and have buy one, get one free 2-liter Coca-Colas in every single aisle, right? When I go to the grocery store, literally every single aisle, candy bars, sodas, right? Every single aisle. I should not have to be bombarded with advertisements for things that will kill me on every single aisle. I just want to go there and get my food and leave, right? And so a lot of people have willpower. A lot of people have self-control. Not everyone does. And this is a situation where there's an editorial design process behind what foods are being thrown in your face, right? And if we have any control over that editorial process, we should control and try to promote healthy eating instead of unhealthy eating. And again, if someone does want a soda, they should be able to have access to that soda, right? Because if someone wants a treat, they should be allowed to have that treat. No big government should be able to come in and say, you should not have that, right? You're a healthy eater, right? Every couple weeks you want to get yourself crack open a Coca-Cola. I get it. I'm on your side, right? But that does not mean that every time you go to the grocery store to buy healthy food, you should have to, again, like I was saying before, is eating a lot of sugar as a kid. I am addicted to sugar for the rest of my life. When I was a teenager, I would drink a 2-liter of Mountain Dew in, a couple, like an hour, I would drink a 2 liter of Mountain Dew, and this would be a frequent occurrence for me. So whenever I'm at the store and I see soda pop in every single aisle, I have to tell myself I don't need it. I have to see it with my brain, and my brain is addicted to it. My brain recognizes the color and the logos and all that stuff, and my brain is like, give that to me right now. And my body is like, keep that away from me, right? So again, if I really want a soda, right? If I want to go there, let's say I did great healthy eating for a month, and, I'm going to have a party and I want to have like a pop or whatever, that's fine. And I should be able to seek that out. But I should not have to have the willpower of a fucking, I don't know, someone with willpower. I can't think of an analogy there. It follows Boris Johnson's pledge earlier in the year to reduce levels of excess weight and obesity. Johnson made the commitment after a serious bout of coronavirus, which the prime minister believed was exacerbated by the fact that he was overweight. Again, could you imagine Trump doing that? The definition of high fat or high sugar food and drink will be based on existing guidelines, but includes items such as chocolate and sweets. Now, I want to highlight that phrase, existing guidelines. In another article I'm going to read, these existing guidelines aren't as objective as you might think they are. So I'm going to read that article in a separate segment, but I'm just throwing that out there. So they're going to be based on existing guidelines, but includes items such as chocolate and sweets, crisps, whatever the fuck a crisp is, soft drinks and sugary milk or juice drinks, cakes, pastries and puddings, biscuits, cereals, yogurts, whatever that means, pizza, ready meals, and chips. I love chips. Don't you love chips? Thank you. The government argues that rather than saving people money, promotions on unhealthy items tend to mean people simply buy more, while end-of-aisle displays can boost soft drink sales by 50%. If you see buy one, get one free on Mountain Dews, right? Buy one, get one free. Okay, you're still buying one. And if it wasn't there, you'd buy 0. Plain and simple. In England, 63% of adults are classified as overweight or living with obesity, while a third of children leave primary school overweight or obese. Now, again, obesity is a nice camera, dude. Obesity is a symptom of things like fatty liver and metabolic syndrome, right? There are people that are obese, which have, their own health complications, but do not have fatty livers and are metabolically healthy. And those obese people typically don't have all of the issues such as higher disease rates that are typically associated with obesity. Those associations are more to do with metabolic health and more to do with the certain chemicals that you're putting in your body rather than the body composition that you currently have. Again, I think it's something like, in America at least, I think it's something like 20% of those that are obese are metabolically healthy and are at lower risk of heart disease than most thin people. So that's just something to throw out there. So it's not just obesity, but, whatever gets the job done. So I am all in favor of this, 1000% in endorsing. And again, I'm going to look at this article here in a hot second, but I'm going to read the chat first. Hello, everyone. I am overweight by 20 to 30 pounds. I'm addicted to sugar. I know. Tell me about it. In America, we are free to get diabetes. Absolutely. Will you get timed out again today? Only if you get too cringe, Z50. Just chill out. You're good. I once asked my friend Don from America to bring me a real American donut to Ukraine just to feel the taste, and he did. And I was shocked how sweet the donut was. Much sweeter than our... Exactly. Because they take a fucking syringe and inject high fructose corn syrup in those motherfuckers. But so many Americans would riot if they were banned their carbon... That's the thing, Bill D. I'm sorry. That's the thing, is that it just changes the editorial process. Right? It's like Twitter promoted tweets, right? Well, if Twitter is going to have promoted tweets, right? Just think of it like a publisher, right? If they're going to have promoted tweets, wouldn't it be better if instead of big banks promoting everything, it was food banks that were saying, hey, donate to our food bank? If Twitter is going to have promotions, if Twitter is going to elevate content, They should elevate content that promotes and encourages health rather than promotes and encourages giving money to big banks. That's why I like the idea so much. It's a great idea. Chips are French fries in England. I know. Hey, Shampoo, why does my weed taste spicy? That is a great question. If you find the answer, please let me know. I'm from the UK. Tried an American soda once. The syrup was sticking to my lips. Soda is so different in the UK. I don't doubt it's different. Absolutely. I've never been outside of America, but everyone that I know that has lived outside of America and has come to America, one of the biggest things that they say is shocking is how the food, all the food is literally, it's going to kill you. Every single bit of thing that you eat in this country is going to fucking kill you, right? And again, this is why I've been so big on nutrition, and stuff like that, because healthy eating, again, the title of today's episode is Capitalism is Inside of Your Body. If you drink a Coca-Cola in the United States of America, capitalism is literally, it's like, you know how America has a military base in every fucking country in the world? That's capitalism with your body. These motherfuckers got a military base in your fucking heart valves, all right? And with that, I want to read this study here. So this is from sciencealert.com. A scary amount of nutrition science has deep ties to the food industry. Wow, shocker. Just like how a lot of the reviews and studies on cigarettes, oh yeah, cigarettes are healthy for you. It cleans your lungs. What? Who paid you to say that? Oh, the tobacco industry, right? So it's like, oh, a little bit of alcohol is good for you. What? Who paid you to say that? Oh, the alcohol industry, right. So, oh, a little bit of Coca-Cola is good for you. Well, who paid you to say that? The food industry. Let's read. The food industry has their fingers all over our nutrition research. According to a new analysis, 1 out of every 8 leading peer-reviewed studies on nutrition is tied to the business. Even worse, this conflict of interest, although acknowledged explicitly within the scientific journals, tends to produce results that favor business, and potentially with misleading consequences. The study found that the food industry is commonly involved in publishing research from leading nutrition journals, researchers write. Where the food industry is involved, research findings are nearly 6 times more likely to be favorable to their interests than when there is no food industry involvement. Science is a tool. Science is a framework, right? Again, similarly, let's look at, remember when there were a lot of these self-driving cars that were starting to be made, and Google algorithms and stuff were being made for self-driving cars. And then self-driving cars kept running over black people because the AI that was written just did not account for people with specific features. They were written by white people, and they were written for white people. And as a result, these self-driving cars, whoops, just kept running over black people, right? So that's one of those situations. Science is a tool. It's a framework, right? If you do not go into science with knowing all of your biases and putting them on the table, then chances are your research is going to be flawed. So yeah. As far as the authors know, this is the first systemic review on the extent and nature of food industry's involvement in peer-reviewed research. Similar studies focusing on the industry involvement have produced mixed results, but far more research is needed. In recent years, and as industry ties to scientific research have begun to surface, many have lost their trust in nutrition science, and some have called it a credibility crisis. Again, the USDA guidelines recommend that the average American should get 200 carbohydrates in their daily diet. Does it distinguish between fiber and simple carbs? No. You just need 250 carbs in a day. That's what the USDA food guidelines are telling you. Yeah, get 250 carbohydrates, simple carbs in a day. Oh, I drank a can of soda, so I got 30% of my daily value carbohydrates. That's when you read the DV, daily value, on the nutrition label, ignore it. Fuck that shit. It's dumb. Get your own info. Oh, yeah, this can of Coca-Cola is nutritious. It's giving me 30% of my carbohydrates for the day. What? Huh? I don't get it. In recent years, as industry ties to scientific research have begun to surface, many have lost trust, blah, blah, blah. I already read that. Whether or not the distrust is justified is something independent scientists and businesses have been trying to prove ever since. These new findings support growing evidence and rising concerns that competing interests are contaminating the field of nutrition and dietetics? Dietetics? I almost said dialectics, but there's no L there. Dietics. I don't know why my fucking camera is deciding to do this today. I'm so sorry. Where am I? Even at the most reputable journals, the findings also suggest that the involvement is skewing results, of course. Skimming articles from the top 10 nutrition journals in 2018, researchers in Australia found 13% of all the 1,461 papers selected for the study reported food industry involvement. Right? Of all the different manufacturers, those involved in processed food had ties to the most scientific research, making up 40% of all business-involved studies. In some peer-reviewed publications like the Journal of Nutrition, business ties were found in 28% of all the articles assessed. In a journal called Nutrition Reviews, which is published by an institute founded and solely funded by food companies such as Mars, Nestle, Coca-Cola, and PepsiCo, business interests were declared in a quarter of all the papers analyzed. Now keep in mind, this analysis is only in self-identified ties to the food industry, where their biases are on the table. How many industries and how many studies do you think are being funded by the food industry that are being kept hush-hush? You have some declare their allegiance so that it's like, oh, we're being transparent. We tell you, right? And then, meanwhile, you've got this other huge fund going and privately funding these with dark money, right? And all that kind of stuff. Both of these journals have declared connections to the food industry, the authors of the analysis wrote. Several members of the board of the Journal of Nutrition have declared conflicts of interest involving food companies. The Journal of Nutrition is published by the American Society of Nutrition, ASN, which has formal partnerships with multiple food companies and has been criticized for supporting food industry objectives over public health interests. There are numerous reasons why a company might sponsor scientific research on its products. Sometimes they're legally required to do so. And of course, they're going to do so with the most favorable possible interpretation of those legal requirements. Assuming good intentions, food research led by a business is an attempt to generate new knowledge of a product that can be used to better inform consumers. But from a public health perspective, this also poses a problem. When business funds or sponsors scientific research, it is very possible that this mismanaged competing interests could influence what is researched or how it's researched, whether intentional or not. Even when peer-reviewed journals declare conflicts of interest, it's possible human bias is still tainting how the results are analyzed or sold to the public. Nutrition is completely or incredibly complex and difficult to study. It's not as easy as just finding out if something is good or bad for you, despite the many headlines that would have you believe otherwise. Again, gray areas. As such, some scientists argue transparency on the behalf of journals is not enough. We also need to actively reduce the industry's influence in the field, right? Whatever percentage the food industry has, right, in funding these scientific studies, whatever it is, should be zero. Absolutely. While it has previously been reported that nutrition research funded by the food industry typically respects scientific standards for conducting and reporting scientific research, the food industry was itself involved in that assessment, and the issue warrants further detailed exploration, the authors wrote. Sugary beverages are a good example of how company-led research can sweeten the sell, even when conflicts of interest are disclosed. Remember, Coca-Cola famously said, we're going to combat obesity. We're going to give you a 6-ounce or whatever can of Coke. But remember, a calorie is a calorie, right? Just remember, yeah, you can drink your Coke. You're only getting 100 calories, right? So drink your Coke, forgo the broccoli. It's the same thing. A calorie is a calorie, Coca-Cola said. But there are also instances when there are not. Coca-Cola, for instance, has been accused of controlling study data and results for research it funded ultimately had to say over a publication. It ultimately had the say over publication. The new research is limited in that it only looked at the studies that were upfront about the industry involvement and were published in peer-reviewed journals. Again, imagine how many of these studies are actually being secretly funded by these industries. Yet, even just by skimming top results in the field and taking disclosures at face value, researchers found business interests in the field are run-of-the-mill. Of all the articles involving businesses, over half produced results favorable to the food industry in peer-reviewed papers. That's probably not because companies are fudging the findings, right? Instead, businesses are probably pursuing topics and methodologies biased toward favorable outcomes. Editorial processes may also be subject to similar bias. Again, even in the ways summaries are written. Like in a lot of these magazines, people will read the summary and then they'll not read the full study. So, right, the summary will be written by an editor who's going to write things in such a way that if you only read the summary, you come out with less of an idea as to what the total sum findings are of this scientific study. Nothing illustrates this better than the alternative. In the review, articles without food industry involvement produce positive findings a little less than 10% of the time. So isn't that interesting? But again, I want everyone to understand that the things that you put in your body, they're not like, you need to think of food as fuel. And think of it this way. You are drinking water. When you drink soda, you are drinking water that has poison in it for taste. When you breathe air, would you breathe in carbon monoxide if it tastes good? Oh, I'm just getting a little bit of carbon monoxide in my oxygen. It tastes good. Can you blame me? What? I don't get it. Right? And if you drink a soda every single day of your life, it's no longer a treat. Right? A soda a day is not a treat. It's not dessert. It's a part of your diet. And you need to look at the foods and the things that you're eating. And yes, I know, you have an addiction. I have an addiction, right? Every now and again, I go on a couple days worth of binging on eating, some fun foods, right? And, that's how I control my stuff. But I try to eat properly and healthily at least 6 days out of the 7 in a week, at least like 28 out of the 30 days in a month. That's what I try to do, right? And it's all about trying. It's about harm reduction. Think of it this way. If you already have a very bad American diet, right? If you forego a soda maybe once every other day, or cut your soda consumption from 2 cans a day to 1 can a day, you're still reducing the harm. Every little step counts. Here's another fun fact. Fructose, which is the main ingredient in high fructose corn syrup, ages your liver at 7 times the rate that glucose does. So basic, simple carbohydrates that you would find in something like pasta, for example, that hasn't been, of course, enriched with corn syrup. If you eat a plate of pasta, the glucose will age your body at 1 times what glucose does, because that's the control. If you drink a can of soda, right, those calories are going to age your body at 7 times the accelerated rate. Fructose will be staying in your liver for longer, which leads to fatty liver disease and which leads to metabolic unhealth. Again, these all things are linked, right? Food insecurity. When people have food insecurity, they're less able to make those healthy eating options, right? The harm that they're able to diminish and they're able to minimize is less likely to occur. They are more likely to eat more unhealthy foods. And that's the thing here. It's about harm reduction, first and foremost. And again, pay attention to what you put in your body, folks. It's a big deal. But anyway, thank you for watching today's show. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you didn't, that's okay. I am in talks with going on another person's show tomorrow. And so I will keep y'all updated on when that happens. And and if it does happen, I'll link you where it is, and we could maybe I'll get the details. I might, I'll give you the details at some point, probably in tomorrow's episode of this show. Another thing is, again, you can give me money simply by listening to the show on Anchor.fm with ad block disabled and all that stuff. If you listen to my podcast on Spotify, Anchor, Google, whatever these fucking podcast hosts are. If you listen to my show there, I get paid. So, there you go. If you miss any portion of this and you want to listen to it in the car or whatever, you can look up Above It All on Spotify. I don't use Spotify. I don't know how that shit works. So, let me know if you need help. And again, you can give me money on Patreon. Patreon.com/CyberDemon531. You can give me money on Patreon. My Patreon's been doing pretty well over the last couple of weeks. I think it's been going pretty well over the last couple of weeks as far as my finances are concerned. When I had that bizarre YouTube strike that I got for cyberbullying the president, I was kind of worried because I had some decent momentum going into the start of December, and then I just had a 2-week mandatory vacation, and I was worried that would curb my momentum and that would, bring me, people would forget about me. It's a concern. But fortunately, my concern has been proven to be a false concern. Maybe it's just because I've got an anxiety disorder. Who knows, right? But I've been getting a lot more super chats, which I appreciate. I've been getting a lot more ad revenue, which I appreciate. I've been getting a lot more subscribers, which I appreciate. I've been getting a lot more people giving me money on Patreon, which I appreciate. Check this out. $181, 44 patrons. What? 44 fucking patrons? Are you kidding me? How did that happen? I don't know. But thank you to everyone, and I just want to be very explicit. Again, I am not some well-funded rich YouTuber that has a $2 million compound that I scream at politicians from. I am poor. I live paycheck to paycheck for the most part. And what little money I do make on YouTube and on Patreon and in all this other stuff, it helps me a lot. It's able to make sure that I'm able to pay my phone bill. It's able to make sure that I'm able to keep the electricity on. And so I just want to say I'm very, very, very thankful to those of you that have decided to help me financially. So I'm bad at saying thank you. And that's kind of part of having an anxiety disorder, is I always feel like I'm putting myself at, I'm exposing myself, but I'm not exposing myself. I'm not getting paid enough to expose myself. But whatever. Anyway, I just wanted to say thank you for all of your support and stuff. And going into the new year, going into 2021, I've got a lot of plans for this show and for other things. Tonight, I'm going to be doing a Grinch speedrun. I might even be doing 2 Grinch speedruns. I'm not sure. So look forward to a stream tonight. I'm not sure when I'm going to do it. Might do it around, 5, maybe 6 p.m. Eastern. I'm not sure, but we'll see. I'll keep you posted. And I'll post the stream page a couple hours in advance, so you'll see a couple hours in advance when that's going to be. Hey, Mega Magikarp. What are some good resources for healthy eating? That's a good question. There's a lot of varying research and studies and stuff. I've been doing a lot of independent research, since April. In April of this year, I made the decision, either 1, I can continue to eat myself to death and be a depressed loser and do nothing, right? And then 2, which was what I was on course for doing in April. Again, I've always had to deal with weight problems. For those of you that don't know, I used to be 250 pounds. Now look at me, right? But this year I was, the pandemic was making I was depressed, Bernie Sanders dropping out. I was pretty depressed. I was like, you know what? I could just eat a bunch of unhealthy food and drink a bunch of alcohol and just, be done with it. And a lot of people have been doing that this year. But I made the decision in April that, well, let's say I do get hit by this virus. Am I going to hit the ground screaming at the worst part of my life? Or am I going to die being the best version of myself that I could possibly be? And so that was kind of my motivating factor, is if there is an end of the world crisis, I want to hit that crisis the best version of myself. And so, again, I was around 210 or 215 in April. I am now a stunning 158. Was what I weighed on Christmas Eve. So I've indulged a little bit, but my point is I've lost a lot of weight. The sugar addiction, you will stop physically craving sugar within 10 days. I can tell you that. I notice I don't eat fructose outside of very specific instances, like Christmas. I had, some fructose. I try to cut that out of all of my food. And I noticed that when I had those very sweet beverages, it literally hurt my mouth. It was so sweet that my mouth was in pain, right? And I also had stomach issues. This is another thing. I ate a lot of high fructose corn syrup on Christmas and I had a bunch of stomach issues, right? I shat 8 times in the span of 36 hours. My body did not process that food. It was literally, my body was so not used to it at that point that it treated it like a poison. And then I had some leftovers the morning after, and I noticed that when I had those leftovers, they did not hurt my tongue as much. And that's the kind of thing is you build a tolerance to sugar, right? And so all it takes is around 10 days to reduce that tolerance to 0. You can probably reduce it to nearly 0 in 3 to 4 days, but you will reduce that shit to absolute 0 within 2 weeks. And I'm just throwing that out there. Veganism, thumbs up, broccoli emoji. Absolutely. I am a vegetarian. I am not a vegan. I'm a vegetarian. I still eat eggs. I apologize. I still eat cheese. I apologize. And we can go into that and I could defend myself if I want, but I'll do that later. But definitely, again, it's all about harm reduction. Americans typically will eat meat 3 to 4 times a day. That is objectively unhealthy. That is killing you, your heart, right? That is killing your liver. That is killing your blood circulation. That is killing you. If you eat meat and low fiber animal products every day and only those things all day, every day, you're doing significant damage. If you want to eat meat, if you love meat, you're a meat eater, right? You're a freak show. I get it. If you're a meat eater, try to reduce your meat intake to twice a week, right? Have that big hamburger for dinner on a Saturday night, right? And make it a special meal. Again, you're going to feel a lot better about yourself. Everything that is processed is bad for you. I would say not necessarily, but 99% of the time, absolutely. If a processed food has more than 5 ingredients listed, let's be honest, it's probably not for the best. But, again, there's variabilities in processed food. Is a processed, I don't know, is a processed veggie burger going to be better than a corn-fed, regular burger? Probably, right? Probably. And that's all, we're talking about margins here, right? And that's my main thing is harm reduction. Is it possible to eat only exclusively healthy things in America right now? I guess, theoretically, but good luck. Good luck, right? So I'm saying if you're going to indulge, if you don't think you can cut this stuff completely, and if you want to have a treat every once in a while, that's fine. But sugar, especially fructose, should be a dessert. It should not be a part of your daily diet. If you drink 1 soda a day, cut that shit the fuck out. If you drink 2 sodas a day, cut that shit the fuck out. And, again, if you need to wean yourself off, if that's what works for you, if you think that that's going to work for you, more power to you. But yeah, that's my show today. Thank you for watching. I will be back tonight. I will be back tomorrow. I stream all the time because I have no life. Thank you. Max, can you shut the fuck up, buddy? Shut the fuck up. I know you like licking your paw because you're diseased, right? But this Max, I swear, he needs to shut up. But anyway, thank you all. Hello, Ted. Goodbye, Ted. Cigarettes killed my father. Alcohol killed my mother. I'm sorry to hear that. I have cut soda out for good. That's awesome, Meja Maggie Carp. I have cut out sodas and now drink Kool-Aid that I manually mix to be particularly weak, even enough to get over the taste hump and not overpower. Again, harm reduction. If it works, it works. Just, make sure you're not accidentally making any, overfills or whatever, Stop drinking them, and when I went back, it legit hurt. No, absolutely. Absolutely. Max is not, we got Max from an owner that, I don't know necessarily if they were abusive, but they were definitely negligent. And And I do know that dogs they can get addicted to licking their paws and stuff. It's kind of like sucking your thumb, I think. And so if you leave a dog outside chained up for 12 hours a day, unmonitored, they're going to do something to pass the time. And so Max likes to chew on himself a little bit. I try to stop him, but he's like 6 or 7 years old. There's really not much I can do. Like without sending him to like some school or like, I don't know. Yeah. Can't believe cannabis still isn't legal in the UK, but alcohol is. You know what? That's a good point. Speaking of cannabis being illegal, I'm going to go end the show and do some totally legal combustibles. Again, thank you for watching. I appreciate you all. And if you want to check me out, if you like what you see, look me over, vote for me. And if you don't like what you see, then, go vote for the other Biden.
And I have a simple proposition here. I'm here to ask you for your help. Where I come from, you don't get far unless you ask. My name's Joe Biden. I'm a Democratic candidate for the United States Senate. Look me over. If you like what you see, help out. If not, vote the other by Gimmer. If you like what you see, help out. If not, vote the other by If you like what you see, help out. If not, vote the other by Gimmer.
That was an opinion of somebody, and that was a retweet. I'll put it out there. People can decide for themselves. I don't take a position.
As far as my relationships with all people, I think all people. I think I have great relationships with all people. I think I have great relationships with all people. I am the least racist person in this room.
But I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black, and you ain't black, and you ain't black, and you ain't black.
As far as my relationships with all people, I think I have great relationships with all people. I am the least racist person in this room. $7 million for reef fish management, $25 million to combat Asian carp, $2.5 million to count the number of amberjack fish in the Gulf of Mexico.
Who are you worried about? I'll tell you who I'm worried about. I'm worried about the fact that our workers are seeing a decline in their standard of living. They want to see our industry be rebuilt. That's what they want to see. No more B-2 bombers. No more Star Wars. Let's make the quality products we need. Let's invest in American industry. No, I won't yield.
Running against the worst candidate in the history of presidential politics puts pressure on me. Could you imagine if I lose?
Oh, you haven't. You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.